This is an artificially aware original production.
Artificially aware, so we're sorry, order back 201 here.
You ever have one of those moments where you feel like someone's just cracked open your skull, rearranged the furniture inside, and left you staring at the mess? That's the Enneagram for you. It doesn't politely knock on the door of your psyche. It kicks it down and sits in your kitchen, legs on the table, demanding you pay attention. I stumbled across this labyrinth of personality types like most people do. Late-night internet spirals, self-help forums full of people screaming, "I'm such a type 4," like it's a badge of honor. And before I knew it, I was hooked. Greetings, humans. Let's take a walk through this strange carnival of your inner selves and see why understanding your type might just flip the script on everything you thought you knew. The Enneagram isn't some half-baked Instagram quiz telling you which Hogwarts house you belong to. This thing has roots tangled in ancient mysticism, 20th century psycho-spiritualism, and just enough unverifiable history to make it feel like sacred knowledge. Its DNA traces back to Christian mystics like Evagrius Ponticus, Gurdjieff's esoteric teachings, and Oscar Icazo's self-development cult-ish vibes. It promises something more profound: 9 personality types, each with its own vice, virtue, and deeply uncomfortable truths. And here's the kicker: the Enneagram isn't content to just tell you who you are. It wants to show you how you break apart under stress and how you glue yourself back together. Before we dive into the types, you need to understand the symbol, that weird 9-pointed star that looks like a mashup of sacred geometry and a geometry teacher's fever dream. Each point on the circle represents a type, connected by lines that map how you unravel when life throws you off balance. The triangle at the center points 3, the 6, 9, and the hexagon pattern are like secret tunnels your personality slips into under stress or when you hit your groove. This isn't just a map of who you are, it's a map of who you become when you're cornered. And that, my friends, is where things get juicy. Now let's talk about the types, because if you're here, you're probably itching to know which chaotic archetype you slot into. Type 1, the reformer. These are the perfectionists, the do-gooders, the inner critics that never learned how to use the volume dial. Their core fear? Being defective or corrupt. Their desire? To be good, to be whole. But here's the rub. Their drive for perfection often leaves them drowning in hypocrisy, torn between wanting to fix the world and resenting its flaws. Serenity is their escape route, but getting there feels like running a marathon with a backpack full of moral dilemmas. Type 2, the helper. Oh, these sweet manipulative angels. Their greatest fear? Being unloved. So what do? They pour everything into others, convincing themselves that if they just give enough, they'll finally be worthy. Flattery and pride cloud their vision, making them masters of emotional leverage. But the real magic happens when they step back and embrace humility, realizing their worth isn't tied to how many people they can save from themselves. When they hit that note of genuine self-love, they shine like nothing else. Type 3, the achiever. The rock stars, the CEOs, the people who make winning look easy, until you get close enough to see the cracks beneath the shine. Achievers are terrified of being worthless. and so they become masters of efficiency, pushing harder and faster to prove their value. But here's the catch. Deceit is their poison, and not just the kind they use on others. They craft personas to survive, convincing themselves and everyone else that they are what they achieve. Truthfulness is their saving grace. When they strip back the layers and stand in their own unpolished humanity, that's when they're truly unstoppable. Type 4, the individualist. Romantics wrapped in longing, forever searching for the piece of themselves they believe is missing. Their fear? That they have no identity, no significance. Envy whispers in their ear, convincing them that everyone else has found the secret to existence except them. They live for authenticity, but risk losing themselves in daydreams and melancholic musings. Their path to redemption? Equanimity, the calm realization that they are enough, just as they are. When fours stop searching for what makes them special and embrace the mundane, they find a beauty no one else can touch. Type 5, the investigator. The eternal students, hoarders of knowledge and solitude. Fives fear being helpless or overwhelmed by the world, so they retreat into their minds, constructing elaborate mental fortresses. Avarice drives them, not for wealth, but for energy, time, and space. They crave mastery, but risk cutting themselves off from life itself. Detachment, their virtue, brings them peace. When they realize that engaging with the world won't deplete them, but enrich them, fives become intellectual giants who bridge knowledge with lived experience. Type 6, the loyalist. Ah, the skeptics and guardians. Sixes are walking bundles of anxiety, forever scanning the horizon for danger. Their fear? Being without support or guidance. Cowardice wraps around them, leading to endless second-guessing and indecision. But courage is their hidden weapon. When they lean into faith, not blind optimism, but trust in their own strength, sixes become unwavering pillars, standing firm even when the storm hits hardest. Type 7, the enthusiast. If sixes brace for the worst, sevens sprint towards the next best thing. They fear being trapped, deprived, or missing out. Gluttony isn't just a vice, it's a way of life. They devour experiences, convinced that happiness is just one more thrill away. Sobriety, the hardest lesson for a seven, holds the key. When they stop running and sit with their discomfort, they discover joy that isn't fleeting, joy rooted in stillness and simplicity. Type 8, the challenger. Eights are the warriors of the Enneagram, fueled by a need to stay strong and avoid vulnerability at all costs. Their deepest fear? Being controlled, violated, or powerless. Lust, not in the romantic sense, but a hunger for intensity and dominance, drives them to conquer their environment. Yet innocence is their hidden salvation. When eights allow themselves to trust and soften, their power transforms from something that divides to something that protects and unites. A vulnerable eight is the most courageous of all. Type 9, the peacemaker. Nines drift through life like leaves on a breeze, craving harmony and avoiding conflict at all costs. Their fear of loss and fragmentation often leads them to numbness and inaction. Sloth, not physical laziness but a spiritual inertia, keeps them stuck. Yet action is their great awakener. When nines engage with the world, they find that their presence holds the key to unity and peace. A fully engaged nine doesn't just go with the flow. they become the flow itself, bringing others along with them. The Enneagram's relevance today. You might be wondering, why does this even matter? Why are people flocking to the Enneagram like it's some ancient gospel rediscovered on a mountaintop? Simple. It's because the Enneagram isn't just about knowing who you are, it's about knowing who you could become. In an age drowning in superficial self-help fluff, the Enneagram offers something deeper. It doesn't sugarcoat. It tells you where you shine, but also drags you face first through the muck of your shadow self. Criticisms and skepticism. But let's not pretend this is all roses and enlightenment. The Enneagram has its fair share of critics. Psychologists wave their hands dismissively, calling it pseudoscience, and they might not be wrong. There's no solid research, no scientific framework. But here's the thing, maybe that doesn't matter. Maybe the Enneagram's real power lies not in its accuracy, but in the attention it demands. Like tarot cards, it forces you to sit down and take a long, hard look at yourself. And sometimes that's enough. The unexpected gift of the Enneagram. At the end of the day, the Enneagram is a story, a myth, a beautiful, complicated mirror that reflects different faces depending on where you stand. Whether you believe in it or not, the Enneagram does one thing that few systems manage. It makes you stop and pay attention. It invites you to explore the parts of yourself you'd rather ignore and nudges you to grow in ways you didn't know were possible. And maybe, just maybe, that's where its true magic lies. If you made it this far, congratulations. You might already be a little more self-aware than when we started. Now go find out your type, or better yet, guess everyone else's and watch how quickly you get sucked into the rabbit hole. Thanks for sticking around. Like, subscribe, and keep questioning everything, especially yourself. Until next time, stay curious.